I drove 11 hours to reclaim a piece of my childhood, and instead I found a 3-story mansion standing right in the middle of my land. The woman who built it looked me straight in the eye and told me to leave or she'd call the sheriff. By the end of the next day, her entire world would start collapsing, and she wouldn't even see it coming. I didn't inherit that ranch because I wanted quick money. I didn't want to flip it, develop it, or carve it up into parcels like some investment spreadsheet. I inherited it because it was home, or at least it used to be. My Uncle Howard Gray raised me on that land every summer from the time I was 8 years old. He taught me how to ride horses without fear, how to fish in the creek that cut through the eastern pasture, how to sit in silence without feeling lonely. When he passed away 3 months ago, he left me everything. 900 acres of Montana land untouched for generations. Or so I thought. The drive from Seattle took 11 hours, and I welcomed every mile. It gave me time to prepare myself for walking through that gate without Howard waiting there leaning against the fence with that half-smile of his. What I wasn't prepared for was what stood about 200 yards east of the stable. A massive red-brick mansion rose out of the pasture like a bad dream. 3 stories tall, floor-to-ceiling windows, a 4-car garage with hunter green doors. It didn't belong there. 18 months earlier, Howard had sent me photos of that exact spot, nothing but open grass stretching to the tree line. Now there were orange survey stakes everywhere, a new fence line cutting across land I knew by heart, and a polished sign near the driveway that read, Hargrove Estate Private Property, HOA Monitored. I just stood there for a minute trying to make my eyes tell my brain that this wasn't real. My chest felt tight like I was trespassing in my own memories. The front door opened, and out she came. Mid-50s blonde hair styled with surgical precision clothes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She walked toward me with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice flat, already annoyed. I pulled the will from my jacket, then the deed. "My name is Vincent Gray. This is my land." She laughed. Not nervous, not surprised, just amused. "I'm Linda Hargrove," she said, "president of the Stillwater Heights HOA. I purchased this property legally 2 years ago. Whatever papers you're holding are worthless now. You need to leave before I call the sheriff." She turned back toward the house like the conversation was already over. Then she paused just long enough to twist the knife. "There's an HOA meeting tomorrow night," she added. "I'll make sure everyone knows about you." That night my attorney confirmed what my gut already knew. No sale had ever been recorded. No transfer. Linda Hargrove had built her dream home on land she didn't own. And tomorrow's HOA meeting wasn't a coincidence, it was her attempt to bury me before I could even stand up. The next morning I was parked outside the Stillwater County Assessor's office before the lights came on. When the clerk finally opened the door, I handed her Howard's death certificate, the notarized will, my ID. She typed quietly for a few minutes, then turned the screen toward me. 900 acres. Still in Howard Gray's name, now transferred to me through probate. No sale, no lien, no encumbrance of any kind. Then she scrolled. My stomach dropped. A survey had been filed 18 months earlier by a company called Hargrove Land Services, redrawing the eastern boundary of the property and carving 45 acres away, the exact acreage where the mansion now stood. The clerk shook her head slowly. This was pushed into the system, she said, but it never went through proper approval channels. It has no legal standing. I asked who submitted it. She checked the signature line and looked back at me with something close to pity. Tom Reeves, county building inspector. I went back to the ranch, determined to confront them face to face. Linda was waiting, but she wasn't alone. Her husband Doug stood beside her, thick-set, gray-haired, the posture of someone who'd spent decades giving orders. 2 other men flanked them, both wearing polo shirts embroidered with the HOA logo. "You again," Linda said. "I told you this was settled. I showed them the county records." Doug stepped forward, his voice calm and dangerous. "Son, I was sheriff of this county for 22 years. I know every judge, every officer, every clerk in this building. If you're going to make accusations, you'd better have more than a printout from a confused secretary." Linda smiled. "We have a valid building permit, approved inspections, everything by the book. "You're the one trespassing now." She pulled out her phone and called the sheriff's department. The deputy, who arrived 15 minutes later, hugged Doug like family. "Chief," he said, the old title slipping out naturally. After listening for maybe 30 seconds, he turned to me. "Look, I don't know what's going on with the paperwork, but right now, the homeowner is asking you to leave. Best thing you can do is step back and handle this the right way." Every instinct screamed at me to argue, to spread my documents across the hood of his car and force him to see the truth. Instead, I swallowed it all. My phone had been recording the entire time. Montana law allowed single-party consent, and I wasn't going to waste that gift. That night, alone in a cheap motel room, the weight finally hit me. They had connections, influence, years of power in this county. For the first time, I wondered if I was wrong to fight this. If maybe I should just walk away, sell whatever was left, and go back to my life in Seattle. I stared at the ceiling and asked myself the question I didn't want to answer. What if I lose? Then I thought about Howard, about the summers, about the creek, about the land he protected his entire life. And something in me hardened. I stopped trying to fight them loudly. I started fighting them correctly. I hired an independent surveyor from Billings, far enough away that no local connections could touch him. He spent 6 hours walking the land with GPS equipment and the original 1952 deed. When he finished, he laid the results out on the hood of his truck. The mansion sat entirely on my property. Not partially. Entirely. The boundary hadn't been misdrawn, it had been deliberately shifted nearly half a mile. Someone had known. Someone had signed off anyway. A public records request peeled back the rest. The building permit listed a false address inside the HOA subdivision. The technical drawings showed GPS coordinates shifted just enough to hide the fraud. And on every approval form was the same signature: Tom Reeves, County Building Inspector, brother-in-law to Doug Hargrove. Then came the final piece. Howard's estate attorney forwarded me access to his email archive. Buried in there was an exchange from 2 years earlier. Linda had offered to buy 50 acres on the eastern edge of the ranch. Howard refused. 6 months later, he started receiving HOA violation notices for land that was never part of any HOA. His last email to me read like a warning: "That Hargrove woman will not leave me alone. Something isn't right." Tomorrow night was the HOA meeting. Linda had promised to expose me. I decided to let her speak first. The community center smelled like stale coffee and old carpet. 47 households sat in folding chairs. Linda took the floor like a queen holding court. "A stranger has been harassing my family," she announced, showing a photo of my rental car. "He claims to own property that was legally purchased years ago. He's unstable and may pose a threat." She proposed a resolution to bar me from the area. I stood up. "You're not a member," Linda snapped. "You have no right to speak." I calmly cited her own bylaws. The room shifted. I connected my laptop to the projector. First the original plat map, then the independent survey, then the falsified permit, then Howard's email. The room went silent. Phones came out. Someone gasped. Linda's face drained of color. "These are fabrications," she said. "Doug, call the sheriff." Doug didn't move. Linda grabbed the microphone. "You don't understand what I've done for this community. 12 years I built Stillwater Heights, and this gray boy thinks he can just—" She stopped. Gray. In that single word she admitted everything. I closed my laptop and walked out. 3 weeks later the investigation ended. Her permit was revoked. The mansion was declared illegal. The survey company lost its license. Tom Reeves was charged. Linda was convicted of fraud and criminal trespassing. The HOA removed her by emergency vote. When I returned to the ranch in spring, the mansion was gone. Only broken concrete remained. The wind moved through the grass like it always had. I didn't reclaim my land with threats or violence. I reclaimed it with truth. And here's the lesson: power only works until someone refuses to be intimidated by it.